Hi, my name is Dev Tyagi, and I am the co-host of the Korat Point podcast, along with Pranay Rangra, who's
Hi.
right there in front of the screen with you. Hi, Pranay. At Korat Point, we try to inform you and we try to amuse you by presenting you some statistics, analysis, and musings about the great game of ours, which has now perhaps become our middle name because we can't imagine our lives without cricket. Just to give you a little bit of introduction about Pranay, who happens to write brilliantly about Proteas cricket and particularly about the underdogs. He's currently engaged in the University of Southampton, where he's doing a PhD on how to create the next Aryan race, the perfect Aryan race. Where his topic of subject is to create a melange between the human DNA between Bugs Bunny and Yuzvendra Chahal. So, Pranay, how's that thesis going along?
Dave, that's actually very good. It's going along great because if you see my receding hairline, which is going south, that matches my presence in Southampton. So it's actually really awesome to be in
Okay.
Southampton. Thanks.
I see shades of my career on your scalp, the lack of growth right there. But anyways, it's wonderful to be here on episode 2. Today we will be taking you audiences towards the most exciting cricketing contest that is, which is going to take place in the next few hours. The World Test Championship final, where it will be the might of Virat Kohli's marauding India on one hand against the cool and calm and collected vibe of Kane Williamson's New Zealand on the other. And there's always fireworks when India and New Zealand happen to lock horns. The only problem is the last time this happened, the fireworks were such that the beats to which were being danced by the New Zealanders, Indians were actually not enjoying so much. There was no bhangra as such for us back in New Zealand. But Pranay, what are your first thoughts? What are your first impressions with these two teams locking horns against each other?
So Dave, considering the fact that they've qualified for the World Test Championship, it shows that both teams have a very strong metal. They both are going to go out there to give their best. And I would consider New Zealand to be slight favourites on two counts. One is that they beat India 2-0 in the last series that India had travelled down under to the Kiwis, to the Kiwi land. And for the simple reason that by the time this Test Championship starts, New Zealand would have already played two Test matches in England. Vis-a-vis India just holding some practice sessions or playing some practice games. So adaptability to the conditions will definitely favor New Zealand. So considering this, I might give them the slight edge.
But I've been told that all the Indian cricketers have been hanging out on their PlayStations. So they have also been very familiar with the playing conditions when it comes to tackling New Zealand. But on a serious note, and thank you for not slapping me for this worst joke of the day. I personally have huge expectations from India to counter New Zealand simply because of the fact that the Indian team of late is a team which is always spurred to greater challenges and greater heights whenever it is pushed in a corner. Now, I don't think personally, as a fan of Indian cricket team, that the Kohli's side would have forgotten the hammering that they received at the behest of New Zealand's great form. So going down at Christchurch and the other venue, Wellington 2-0, they would remember that what better stage than to mount a comeback than here at the Aegis Bowl at Southampton and winning this one-off test. What do you have to say to that?
Dave, in truth, if I was Virat Kohli, I would obviously second your sentiment. But
If you were Virat
considering
Kohli, you would be married to a very beautiful woman, but you're not. But continue, please.
नहीं वो अनुष्का मेरे सामने शर्मा गई ना इसके लिए.
Oh, good, good.
But sorry guys, sorry. But on a very
Yeah.
serious note, I would definitely think that India might have a chance because if you were to see it through their lens, they lost the two series. They lost the Test series 2-0 against New Zealand down under, and this could be mission revenge. But it comes down to the fact that this test is going to be so important that adaptability to the conditions, as I said earlier, is going to play a key role because as we know, this is the onset of the English summer rather, and the ball might be conducive to a bit of seam and swing. So whichever team that bats first, the way they utilize the conditions is going to be really important. Obviously, the bowling team would utilize it better, but
Hmm.
the
Right,
toss,
right,
according to me, might play a crucial role.
right,
So
right.
just have to see. But I still would give my brownie points to New Zealand, considering they would have played two test matches earlier.
And increase the calorie count in the processes too by eating the brownies. But I really feel that there are some amazing battles which await us come the final of the World Test Championship. The one that I'm particularly looking most forward to is the one between Jasprit Bumrah and Kane Williamson, and Trent Bolt and the likes of Cheteshwar Pujara. Are there any particular battles which you think would excite fans and would amass a greater interest in this contest?
Yeah, particularly with the double centurion that we have in the Kiwi lineup, the new southpaw Devin Conway. I would like to see him go up against Ravichandran Ashwin, as they say that left-handers have their share of problems against off spinners. So this would be quite a contest to watch out for. And the reason I say this is because I'm quite sure that Devin Conway with his form will negate the Pacers. And by the time Ravichandran Ashwin comes in, he might just be settled to take on the offie.
Right, right. And also, one factor which would definitely come into play is the fact that the number of times Devon Conway has played Ravi Ashwin is exactly equal to the number of times Brian Lara has delivered toe-crushing Yorkers in cricket, which is actually none. So I think that would have its own weight. But let's speak of the batting units and the batting strengths on respective sides. So who do we have here? We have Devon Conway, we have Tom Latham, we have Kane Williamson, Ross Taylor, four very prominent batsmen. And then if you go down the order, you have
You
Colin
have Henry
Glanville
Nichols. Yeah, you have
and
Henry
Henry.
Nichols, then BJ Watling.
Yeah.
Either of Jimmy Neesham or Colin DeGrando might play. Then you have Mitchell Santner and Tim Southey. So if you see the
Colin
batting order,
DeGrando and his new bunch of hair, which I
yeah,
think
yeah,
he's
yeah.
borrowed from the South Indian temples in India. But whatever, he's it's his new look. And on the other hand, you have a very balanced lineup, my friend. Definitely, I'm expecting Shubman Gill to be one of the openers. It's not certain if KL Rahul is going to play. If he plays, then well enough. Um, Chedeshwar Pujara, Virat Kohli himself, down the order, batsmen like Rishabh Pant. So it's kind of an even Steven situation there. Do you think any particular team holds a certain advantage when it comes to the art of batsmanship over the other?
I seriously hope that the aggressive nature of Virat Kohli gets the better of him. He makes mistakes in his aggression, which I really don't see happening with Kane Williamson for sure. Because as you rightly said,
Considering
the composure that the man shows is unparalleled. And yeah, so actually, as you rightly said, the batting lineups are pretty evenly matched. It's the question of who bats first, as I said previously, and how good are they on the crease to tackle the conducive seam and spin that'll be on offer. So if India bat first, how would India tackle New Zealand's swing followed by the spin from Mitch Santner and vice versa for New
so
Zealand?
so Tim Southey and Trent Bolt collectively amongst them have taken 75 wickets against the Indian lineup, with Tim Southey marginally ahead of Trent Bolt, having taken 39 test scalps, if I'm not mistaken, and 36 for Trent Bolt. So this pair is going to be a huge pair, but we have one giant among us who definitely would want to stamp his authority on the game
Kyle
because he was
Jamieson,
definitely Kyle Jamieson.
that's right.
Definitely a man, yeah, definitely a man, Temba Bavuma would be looking to become a giant like. But imagine what were to happen if they were in the same frame one day. But well, some things are nestled in the garb of the future. So, do you think Kyle Jamieson has a great chance at doing something incredible in this test match? He is a new product, absolutely
You know,
refreshing.
it's interesting you bring that up because considering Trent Bolt will be back, so I would think that New Zealand would not play four seam bowlers. So it'll be a toss up between Neil Wagner, who himself is a very good left arm seamer, and Kyle Jamieson. So what it comes down to is another swing bowler to complement the likes of Saudi and Bolt versus someone who gets a certain amount of bounce, actually good speech and music to make the batsman uncomfortable. So the choice would come down to these two attributes. And I would personally, if I was the New Zealand manager, I would possibly go on with Kyle Jamieson for the simple reason that the extra bounce he'll bring to the table. And if he doesn't bring the bounce, surely with his towering height, he can get the better of the Indian batsman.
So his normal delivery would obviously be signaled a no ball to a Rishabh Pant, right? I'm just trying to figure.
I would think so. I would think so. I would surely think so.
So he doesn't need to really put in an extra effort to bowl the shorter one. The kinds of which Neil Wagner is known for. So maybe Wagner will create the German Wagner style music, the chill music which Indians must brace themselves for. But I think it's a very potent New Zealand bowling lineup. The last time, as we rightly recalled at the start of the show, Indians were really hammered at Christchurch and Wellington, and I'm glad that New Zealand don't have the challenge of facing India in the limited over series where India considerably find themselves at a better position given their recent form. And I think, moreover, to support your point on Kyle Jamieson, the fact that he's played in the IPL, God knows why the IPL was even held in those circumstances, but I'm glad it's over now. He must have found
One
a
sec.
bit of
It's
understanding.
over. Sorry, Dave, to interrupt. It's over to resume again. The IPL is never over, so to speak. So
Yeah,
we
yeah,
should
yeah.
always
So
be cognizant of that. We can never say the IPL is over. It's always over to resume again.
perhaps our Aadhaar cards might be cancelled one day, but the IPL won't be.
IPL
So,
won't.
and rightly so. It's such an entertaining
You can't
series.
make Mr. Modi angry. Lalit, not Mr. Narendra.
Yeah, because if you anger Narendra Bhai Saab, then possibly many bad things could happen to you. So,
True.
and I think I'm about to file a complaint against you because of your anti-Indian stance, because you seem to be supporting New Zealand over India. Is that true? Am I getting the right
Actually,
sense?
my auntie is a complete national, considering she loves India. So if I go a little anti-India, it's okay. Till the time I'm making my auntie happy.
Think somebody just threw a shoe at me. I just felt like it, but it's brilliant. Yeah. So I was saying that Kyle Jamieson might have got a bit of understanding into the mind of how a Virat Kohli approaches his innings. So do you feel that the little stint that he got, whatever it was at the RCB, who were actually in tremendous form, and I, as a fan of Bangalore from the Rahul Dravid days of him being in the side, followed their games very closely. Do you think Jameson is going to leverage on that advantage, or was it just a T20, so it doesn't really count that much in the longest format of the game here?
I would just second guess thinking that he would have got some exposure into the Indian team, but Kohli, being the shrewd man he is, wouldn't have actually let Jameson get to know anything more
Right,
than what's actually required of him being at RCB. So,
right.
in my opinion, I don't think so. I think Kohli would have kept every secret behind closed doors.
Mhm. Another player, and I was wanting to specifically talk about him being a New Zealander, not me, him. Just because I wear a black t-shirt, minus a cap doesn't make me a black cap. But
Okay,
Tom
before
Lynch,
you go there, what's ironical is that you are sporting the New Zealand black and I'm sporting the dark blue of India, and
yeah,
and it's on the opposite sides that we're supporting our respective teams. You're going in
yeah, I'm
for
supporting India. I have to live in India,
you
so I'm supporting India.
you're supporting India, and I'm thinking that New Zealand might do wonders. So,
Yeah.
are we like a little sort of non-committal because we're still wearing the opposite jerseys? What do you think?
I think as long as we don't support West Indies and South Africa in the India New Zealand Test match, things are really okay, because that's our second nature. Even when India and Pakistan play, somehow you feel South Africa have performed really well. in the highlights. But to talk of Tom
Their greens are
Latham,
very close. I don't blame them. The South African green and the
yeah,
Pakistani green are very close.
yeah, 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 and that's a nice uncanny observation, by the way. So 6 matches, 12 innings, 345 runs against India at a rather lowly average of 31.3. This is Tom Latham I'm talking about, who has against his name one not out against India, but and no centuries. Although he scored 5 half centuries, a fourth of his career 50s, which is 20 in total. Five of 20 have come against India. Is it time for Latham to finally make that big push and come out there with big runs? I remember 2019, towards the year end, he made a cracker of a double century. The 264 not out is still raved about largely in New Zealand circles and in circles where New Zealand is everybody's second favorite team. So, what are your impressions about Tom Latham and his chances of doing well here?
You know, it's nice you bring that up because considering your fascination for this one man called as the Wall, Rahul Dravid, I see this guy as the wall of the New Zealand top order. For the simple reason that I would see Devin Conway play more of the aggressive sort of batting innings, and I would see Tom Latham being the blockathon kind of a guy. And together, I would see them blossom in a very good partnership. So the importance that Tom Latham brings to the top order is unparalleled, and considering that he wants to get more runs, it could be detrimental for India.
Yeah, absolutely. Because his test career is very decent. He's 12 runs away from reaching 4,000 test
That's right.
runs. His average is north of 41, which is very decent for a guy. He's already hit what 11 centuries, and I think it's time to perhaps make one against India as well, and finally open his
Plus,
three-figure mark.
if I'm not mistaken, he takes on the captaincy duties also for the Kiwis.
Right,
So
right.
the kind of know-how that he adds to Williamson's skill sets is
Right,
also worth every praise.
right,
So
right.
it, all in all, I think Tom Latham to the Kiwis is a very good package.
Right. On the other hand, there are lots of Indian batsmen who would want to really improve their test performance, even if this is just a solo opportunity. Well, 2 innings, but a solo test match to do that in. The likes of Pujara. The most I remember about him in the last series when he faced New Zealand was his 140 ball stay for a 54 or 58 odd run inning. Mayank Agarwal was the one who started India's attack batting wise by scoring the first half century. I think then we also managed a 50. We saw 50 from the likes of Rahane. But none of the Indians were able to get into a three-figure mark. Whereas on the other hand, the New Zealand batsmen came down heavily on us. So did their bowlers. Um, where I speak as the supporter of the Indian cricket team, um, I really feel that there is an urgency. There must be an urgency with which the so-called wall of India right now, Chiteshwar Pujara, should score runs. I'll tell you why, particularly because of the reason that even in that winning test at Gabba, where the poor guy took a lot of awful blows on the body, with the Australians actually targeting him, just targeting those lethal physical attacks to just mow him down at the crease. He did stay long enough to score a half century in that knock, in particular, but he was not really at his fluent best. The sense of fluidity, and of course, there have always been questions, and more so in particular off late, about his very slow strike rate. So if India have to not go on the defensive and play attackingly, then it is imperative that somebody like Chiteshwar Pujara, who could actually even come early one down in the case of us losing an opener early up, to score runs quickly. Do you think that's a possibility, or will the old and familiar Pujara, the one who plays blockathons, the one who just wains down bowlers, will come to the fore? What are your impressions?
You know, Dave, it's important we understand that this is not a series but a single test match. So you really don't have that kind of time to gauge where you stand in the first test and probably come out better in the second. So whatever Pujara plans to do, he needs to keep in mind that this is the only test which is make or break for India. So whether he wants to take the blockathon approach or he wants to be a little aggressive, but I would think he should stick to his natural abilities of playing cricket, which is true to his potential, rather than trying anything bizarre. Uh, so yeah, so we would see the blockathon Pujara possibly who might get runs, capitalize on those loose deliveries, and maybe the other batsmen bat around him, with him being the focal point.
Yeah. So just to recollect some of his numbers, he's played 9 Test matches out of 85 in his career against New Zealand, out of which he struck 750 runs, and he's been able to score 200s, including and 450s as well against New Zealand. Enjoys a very hefty batting average of 46.8, so that's almost 47 against New Zealand. I mean, if I were a Tim Southee or Trent Bolt, I would really consider him as being a thorn in the path of New Zealand towards breaking down the Indian batting attack. But another batsman who has a great chance, even though it's a solitary test, as you say, to shine, and there is not much time whatsoever, is Rishabh Pant, and the uncanniness he brings to with the bat every time. You know, most people would remember Rishabh Pant in the wake of his very recent exploits against Jimmy Anderson. He fashioned an out of the box kind of a shot, maybe something like that against a Wagner, or something like that against the likes of Kyle Jamieson and Saudi, who knows, because Pant is a completely surprise package. He can go bonkers, or he can just gift you his wicket.
Yeah, why not? Punt can do a punter to the Kiwis, with all due respect to the punter Ricky Ponting. Uh,
Right.
yeah, but yeah, I see him as that dynamite, that pocket dynamite who does the keeping duties, and I guess he bats three down, if I'm not mistaken.
Pant
Three down or four
bat,
down.
yeah, exactly.
So
He
he
comes
would.
in the lower middle order.
That's right. So he would play that sort of a Gilchrist type role to take the game away from the opposition. So yeah,
Right.
so there is a certain sense of excitement to watch this guy play. But
Right.
more so in the Indian batting order, there's another name that I would like to bring to our viewers, who is Ajinkya Rahane. Uh, his captaincy in the absence of Virat Kohli to get India to win down under was actually phenomenal. And he
Absolutely.
is that quite mainstay in the batting order who just quietly goes about his business without much glam glam. And yeah, so he coming to the party will also be very vital for the men in blue. So yeah,
Absolutely.
so
Rahane and Pujara, actually, it's a very very strong lineup, and there's no need to mention Virat Kohli's name, because it is understood that it's a battle of two of the greatest bats in the modern era of the game. Long after Sachin, Lara, Dravid, Kallis, Ponting, and this quintuplet retired, we were left with a vacuum, wondering whether we would have great batsmen of their kinds. And now we have these prolific run scorers as well. Although not to forget the fact that these guys get far more opportunities to play and wield their willows at the highest level. And those guys, because of, I would say that we see far too much cricket being played nowadays than it was back in the 1999s or the early 2000s or the mid 2000s. But here's an interesting trivia for all the New Zealand fans in particular, and those who still feel that women's cricket is neglected, would perhaps be sporting a broad eyed smile after this fact. It was on this very date 3 years back when the New Zealand women's cricket team, popularly known as the White Ferns, amassed 490 in an ODI game against Ireland. And the incredible legend Susie Bates, the all rounder, perhaps recognized as one of the greatest all rounders in the history of the women's game, amassed a 150 plus score. And there was another century maker in the side. And then the young and upcoming and the very, very versatile and talented Amelia Green shown up with a 45 ball 81, I guess it was. And this team total of 490 is the highest across both men and women's ODI cricket. So anyone who feels that women are not doing what men are, get your facts right. And maybe this is something which would inspire Kane Williamson in the days to come. By which I don't mean that it'll inspire him to cut down his beard and start looking more cute and the innocent pop-eyed person he looks, but to amass a score like 490, these are scores, Pranay. Don't you agree that test teams sometimes fail at conjuring? But this was a women's team which made it in a 50 over match, and I truly find it incredible. And I salute the women's cricket team for doing that.
Definitely, Dev. In fact, these days, considering the kind of battles there are between the bat and the ball, a 300 plus score is also considered very good in Test cricket. So when the
Yeah,
White
yeah,
Ferns amassed 490, that was phenomenal.
yeah. The
Possibly, I
white,
think the
yeah,
the Black Caps need not take the park only. I think the White Ferns are enough for the men in blue.
yeah. Maybe one day we'll see something like that, and then only for Virat Kohli to just just show his anger and just do something to the stumps, just make it out there with the stumps itself. But yeah, who knows when that day will come. But it's a brilliant idea one day to just have this cross breeding of female cricketers and male cricketers in one team. Imagine if there was a team which would have an Elise Perry opening the attack for Australia, and then David Warner opening aside with the great Meg Lanning. Um, I don't know. Can these two formats be merged just for maybe a charity sake, charity game sake? I beg your pardon. But yeah, so I think the ICC can play around with a lot of innovations. Maybe this sounds random, but I personally love the sight of Elise Perry bowling to Sachin Tendulkar.
Right.
Last year during the Australian bushfire relief match, which also featured certain Brian Charles Lara, and he was in great form. But yeah, continuing more on India and New Zealand. Tell me the player with the X factor, and it could be across both sides, or let's say just go for New Zealand. Your player with the X factor.
I think it should be Kyle Jamieson for me, as being more of the all-rounder with those nice little bouncers. And considering the Indians really don't know much about him, barring the fact that they faced him in the IPL. Was he a
Right.
part of the two test series in New Zealand?
Uh, he was. I think he made his debut back in
Okay,
that.
okay, so that two test, okay, so a bit of a known factor, but still, with the way he's developing as a cricketer, I would consider him as an all-rounder X factor. And surely Devin Conway, with the way he'll go about opening the batting with his aggressive yet measured approach. So if he can get the better
Right,
of the Indian bowlers, I would definitely
right, right,
be
right, right.
one. He would definitely be one to look out for.
So Kyle Jamieson actually took a 5 for 45 against India, and that was a very vital spell. Although his best test spell is 6 for 48, and that one
Okay.
came against Pakistan. Kyle Jamieson.
So here
But
you have
speaking
it.
of
Yeah, Kyle Jameson already has a 5 for against India.
yeah,
It's not Michelle we talk about. It's 5 4,
he
and he might go in for more. Yeah, I surely hope he
right,
does.
he actually has 4 5 wicket hauls already against his name, and he has bowled a total of 241 overs in Test cricket as of now. So I think this is an incredible showing for a man who's also expected to perform well with the bat. But the fact that you spoke of Devin Conway and you brought into picture another South African, do you want to show our viewers your South African passport, which Cyril Ramaphosa has proudly given you?
Unfortunately, that went into the laundry with my pan. I think there's a port which is very past me. Past means close in Hindi. So I would rather go and
Right,
jump there, considering I
right,
don't have
right,
my
right,
South African passport
right.
during the podcast. I
Okay.
feel really ashamed of not showing it right.
Okay, okay. So here's the man, a cricket writer, a podcaster, and a man who also holds a South African passport, which right now belongs to the Laundry Wala Bhaiya. So that's very cool. The player with the X factor for me in this game um, is going to be Rishabh Pant. I really predict that he's going to come up with a cracker of a 90 or something, or he will struggle to even get to 30 runs. So it is either north of 50 or it is going to be less than south of 30. Now, to talk of main scale predictions, what is your final prediction on this game? A draw, a win for Kiwis, or a win for my team India?
Temi, if it's a draw, we have an additional day that the 5 day match can go to, right? I think a draw accounts
Yeah,
for an additional
hopefully.
day to. I think so.
Really?
That's what the ICC has come up with to ensure that there's not a draw. But in these days, in a 5 day test match, also typically in the third or fourth day, the game is over. So I would put the draw out of question.
Right.
Simply for the fact that New Zealand has played 2 test matches against England in these conditions, and all things at par, I would give New Zealand the advantage. I would see New Zealand beat India. Uh,
Okay.
yeah.
My prediction is that um, it's going to be India who's going to beat New Zealand, and we are going to come back right on top with a vengeance. We're going to, take the revenge of being hammered and being pushed to the corners at the Wellington and Christchurch venues in the past. And it'll be although that being said, it's going to be a closely fought battle between two very bright powers in world cricket. India definitely holding the psychological advantage because they are associated as being this mighty team, which they truly are. But I think credit should go to them for playing fascinating brand of cricket, particularly in the the last half a decade. That being said, I want to bring up a point with you. Some of
Can
my
I interrupt? This it's interesting that you bring up this point of India being mighty. So when you say mighty, what do you attribute mighty to? Profit or performance?
Khali's physical frame. Yeah.
I have my answer. We shall not dig into this further. Go on.
Right. The shenanigans that you and me play. Well, unless the viewers are very much awake, we would want to continue, and we are just about to wrap up this podcast. So, some of the
With a
people
McDonald's wrap.
that would be fine. Actually, get the McFlurry for me. The double chin should explain that. And this was not made at the Chinnaswamy Stadium. You must take into account. So, some of my cricket friends, who with whom I interact regularly, are saying that it's a pretty pointless thing to have just a one match World Test Championship final. Of course, a final game always has to be a one match. But you remember those good old days, the Carlton United series in Australia, where the finalists would actually get to play multiple finals, so that the winner could finally be someone who has consistently beaten the other team. Why not have the ICC? And of course, they are not listening to us. The chances of them listening to us are as remote as you and me being, given a free Tesla by Elon Musk himself. Why doesn't the ICC, in all seriousness, consider a World Test Championship final, which is at least a 2 or a 3 game base series? Because let's say hypothetically this final was to be washed out. Let's say something like that happens, then the prospects of us getting a live cricketing action are very, very bleak and limited. And plus, it serves no fun that you make 22 people travel across the continent, visit a country, and just eat the starters and not the entire meal. I would love to have the entire buffet. Why just play one match? Why can't the World Test Championship have 3 matches at least? What do you think on that?
Yeah, you're right. I see that the ICC really doesn't care about what we are saying. Uh, so,
Given
it's funny you bring that up because when you said about the 3 match Australian final, it reminded me of an Indian captain by the name of MS Dhoni, who after the 2007 T20 World Cup accomplished the impossible in Australia by winning 2-0 in this 3 match series in early
right,
2008. But having said that, you're right. This should be contested across a 3 match series, being the minimum, because even for India's sake, if they haven't played Test cricket in England before this, they would at least take a game to acclimatize to reach their true potential. And if New Zealand do win the first game, it should only be fair that India gets a chance to bounce back, or vice versa. So a 3-match series is definitely the bare minimum that should be happening. But having said that, India has to play England for 5 test matches. For the forces at play that there are, in which we shouldn't dive too much, because we spoke about this even in an earlier podcast. And after that, the IPL follows, or rather, the IPL resumes, which can never go away. Even beyond our graves, it'll never go away. So, so it's imperative that the test match had to be for a minimum 3 test matches, but that's not going to happen. And as you rightly said, that we can only see the ICC not paying much attention to us. That's why I said IC.
Yeah. Even though we have a very envy-inducing subscriber base of 19 subscribers to our podcast, and what?
One check. 19 was as of this morning. We've reached the very good landmark of 20.
Oh, we've reached
So
20.
we've added one more, and I think that's a reason to celebrate.
So can you imagine the self-damning blow the ICC is giving itself by avoiding the voices of a podcast which has 20 subscribers against its name? I mean, that's just incredible. But that being said, folks, that brings us to the end of episode 2 of the Correct Point podcast. Pranav will definitely share with us in the next episode where his theory of the new Aryan race, by which he wants to breed Bugs Bunny and Joswendra Chahal to create a new human chromosome. He'll tell us
Bunny
where
Chahal.
that.
It's called as Bunny Chahal.
That's beautiful. That's still better than Kulcha, when Kuldeep Yadav and Joswendra Chahal decided to call the TV channel Kulcha. I mean, every Delhiite's mouth was watering, including mine. You know, but we would want our viewers to tell us, because the comment section is open this time. Last time we were attending a presidential ceremony at the President House. We were called as the last minute gardeners for the Central Vista project, so we forgot to put the comment section on. Please tell us if you want us to talk about a particular cricketer, a particular match. Does not matter, women's cricket or female cricket, a game from the past, or a series which is about to happen, and we would want to wrap our brains and come up with quirks, analysis, and a healthy discussion on it. So this is Dev Tyagi with the double chin, as you saw here, not born in Chinnaswamy Stadium, signing off. You can read some of our articles at correctpoint.com. The man on the other part of the screen has penned some beautiful
Ranay
articles.
Rangra with the receding hairline, signing off. So guys,
Yeah.
thanks for tuning in to yet another episode with
You
lots more to come in.
you are
And
looking a bit like Kima Roach nowadays. I didn't
yeah.
say cockroach, by the way.
And do tune in. West Indies, South Africa starts in exactly 2 days. Thank you, guys.
That is going to be one heck of a series, guys. Just because India and New Zealand are playing, do not ignore the Proteas fire, which will reach many milestones higher in the Caribbean. So thank you, guys, and we'll be back soon. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.